Big Thunder Mountain Railroad in Disneyland Paris has been my very first roller coaster ever. This is actually me in Disneyland Paris on Big Thunder Mountain, and this is the recreation of Big Thunder Mountain Railroad Paris in Planet Coaster 2. Welcome to this very emotional ride of me recreating a roller coaster. Just for more trivia, here is me also in Disneyland Paris, just in the Frontierland. And also, this is a photo from 1997, my first ever visit to Disneyland Paris, of Big Thunder Mountain. Now, in the background, you can see some cinematics of, well, actually, the real one, and maybe some spoilers for what you can expect in this video. This is gonna be the first part of somewhat many, I guess 3 or 4 episodes it's gonna be taking, but you'll be seeing why in today's video. I'll be taking you on a journey, a couple of showcase parts and a bit of speed build, but I'll be explaining quite a lot. It's gonna be almost a tutorial because I learned so much along that journey. In general, it's been my absolute best creation ever in any Planet game. I desperately want to say that because it's true. And you're gonna find out why that is. I'm super excited to bringing that for you. So lean back, keep your hands and arms inside the train at all times, and let's enjoy Big Thunder Mountain, the recreation. Alright, let's begin this journey. As I said, it's very emotional, and you're looking at the very first step. That's been months ago, about the time when the first or update 7, 8, what was it, launched, when the flexi-color rocks were established. And you can see, as with every good recreation, down here we have the full kind of plan. I do got the plan, the original one, to just be sure I cannot name the source, but let me tell you, this is the exact source, the exact Paris version. You can tell that by the boat and all that kind of stuff. However, as for the dimensions of the game, this is not 1 by 1. I would have loved to show you with the scaling, but whenever you load back into it, this is unfortunately off. So the scaling is 1 to 1.2. The main reason lies in, I can just quickly show you, well, I'll drag that whole thing up a little bit, let me just bring it all the way down here. The reason lies in the size of the track, actually, in relation to the Planko track and station. You can see I just about fit all that in. I can already tell you for the future, it's not been today's episode, but for a future episode, the station is going to be the biggest pain you've ever seen. Even with free build and all the kind of helpers we have, this is gonna be horrible. But to be fair, the beginning I did have a little help of my brother. He helped me doing the recreation to be perfectly accurate and also to match the speeds of the coaster, which frankly wasn't too easy. We played a lot around with friction values and stuff, and ended up with a version that runs at the in-game normal friction, I believe, or it's actually 0.9. I don't remember the final one, but this is obviously not the final one. A couple of smoothing actions have been happening in between, and obviously a couple of height changes have been done in between, because there is no real data on the height of the track, and also there is no completely 100% accurate data on the length and so on of the track. There are 2 different sources, including my very valuable source I have. They differ in between 1,200 and 1,400 meters in total length. This goes also down to changes of the coaster over all these years, because this coaster apparently is somewhat an old coaster already, 2 decades and more already existing. So obviously there have been a couple of refurbishment changes and so on. So about the length, well, we went with the most recent version, so it's only the 2023 4-ish version, if you will, with all the changes in scenery. Anyways, more about that. Let's just quickly jump into a bit of a time lapse, and I'll explain a bit of the pain that went into finding the beginning of my works. Okay, we have a bit of time now in a time lapse to speak about this video and why there's a good reason for you to stick with me through the entire video. It's a bit of a long one, but I wanted to show you the process. I mean, I somehow have to cram over 200 hours into one video, which is a challenge on its own. Just as the challenge began in laying out the island and the beginnings and the foundations and just getting the grips of it. It's been very hard, to be honest, because you know, you have these kind of billboards where there is this exact kind of layout, and my brother has helped me building the coaster, and everything seemed like very straightforward. But that's where it ends, you know. It's not like with a coaster that has a very specific footprint where you can say, okay, you know, that just this support over here is connected to this building, and then you have got a perfect layout and can build from there, and then you've got a rectangular house or whatnot. No, this is like a very organic structure on the island, and it's been really hard to find the starting point. I think it's really about this, and this is also, I guess, the hardest thing in this game anyways, not only for me, but also for many people building without even recreating stuff, just in general building in this game. You've got that green canvas in front of you, and then you're having a bajillion ideas in your head, but what is the one you want to start with? What's the height you're gonna go with? What's the seam? What's the size? What's your story? You know, there's so many questions, and therefore, at least that's simple over here. And you can see over here, I then found a height I wanted to go for, and I started painting in the land just as I, you know, started to realize where the lake should go, and I started to make these things happen, searching for the correct height of the lake, and then making sure that everything is kind of highlighted the way it is. And now this is a ongoing thing I'm going to talk about in today's video. The problem with this specific layout data I have is that the layout data is outdated in a way, because it is from the midst of the 1990s, because that's where the coaster has been built, and this is the original plan. However, with a couple of refurbishments and, you know, building phases and just making sure that the coaster, you know, holds on to the time, they have changed quite a lot of the things on the coaster, but there is no real documentary about that. There's no real data you can find except some photos, and I had to change a couple of things along the way because I figured that seemingly the original plan just cannot be exact anymore when you look at modern photos of the ride. Like also sometimes where like backstage roads go and so on, it just doesn't fit with the original plan anymore. So I had to constantly evolve this. But the next part is obviously how to get the rocks in. And as you can see, I slapped a couple of big rocks in here just to have somewhat of a beginning. You can see I laid out a couple of rock formations to find out the ones I wanted to have, and then I changed a bit of a different one to, you know, have these kind of more bright-ish areas. But honestly, this has been very challenging. You've seen that in the little showcase. There was only that top part of the mountain, and this is exactly where I started, because I thought, you know, this main area here with the two lift hills, you know, in kind of opposed to each other, they are both in that main big Thunder Mountain. So that was for me the point I wanted to start with, the point of reference. That first area where the train comes out of the lift hill, and then there is this waterfall to the left and right. This for me was the starting point, and eventually I noticed, okay, I gotta have to get in with some landscaping as well. I can't just do this all with rocks, also because of the lighting in the game. Terrain still works a little better than only rocks and stuff. Otherwise you have that kind of haze going on. If you're, I don't know if you've ever noticed that, but if you have like a giant hole, it is going to be fully dark, but the bigger it is, the more haze is kind of being in there, and you can get rid of this by making your indoor sections more narrow. But yeah, that's not only the only challenge I had, and in this first part I explored myself. I used this part over here to see if I can get some dirt and stuff in, because the rock texture doesn't really work nice for dirty kind of ground texture. It's just not like it's just looking weird, and you don't really have the nice control over it. But we will be fully doing the backstage access, or the road access, or however you want to call that, the catwalk, will be fully custom. And this is what I started doing here over there. And this is the first blueprint for me going on through the entire project. But yeah, that was a huge struggle. But eventually, that was the first point I had, and it's time to move on. So let's skip over to the next save file. Enjoy. A dramatic cut forward, just as already said. This is already a couple of 10-ish hours into my recreation. To be honest, I believe this is almost 50-ish hours already, and it doesn't even look like, but as I told you guys in the time lapse, the hardest thing was to find the beginning, actually a point of reference where you want to start. And obviously this main part over here would be the point of reference, but you'll see me changing this thing, I guess until the last episode, to be honest, if I can look into the last time-lapse. To be fully transparent with you guys, this episode is mostly showcasing everything I have right now. So there is a couple more things I've already done, what you'll see at the end of the episode, but it's gonna carry on for a couple of months, I believe, because I will also try to sit out for a couple of updates of Planko, and hopefully there will be maybe a dual station in the future. But maybe this is one of the biggest changes in this version, is also that I started to figure out if there's a way to make the station work. Station is frankly not a part of today's episode, but I did manage to get a pathway in and get a working station with the Paris version of having the dual load and unload. It's kind of working. Obviously the other side is fake, but you'll get the idea. Now, as for the mountain, at this point in time, I was super happy with this side of things, you know. I started to try to figure out my point of references with actually this housing over here going into it. I measured that from all the photos and Google images and stuff you have, so that is very much the exact correct size of a house. And as you can see, as this is a custom roof and a custom wall, just gonna quickly show you, there is apparently the issue that, you know, as I am not fully on one creation, so I can't really measure exactly 1 meter equals 1 meter, because the in-game sizes, as I said, they differ quite a bit. So if I go and use an in-game wall, let's say, I'm just gonna go for an archway over here, that makes things easier. Let's just grab that one. You can see it's not really exactly the size. I went for a bit of a different option. So as for the roof, you would imagine this is exactly 2 next to each other, so 8-ish meters, but it's not, as you can tell. So I needed to go for like 6-ish meters, which is about what the real one is, and then kind of created my own reference over here, which, to be honest, makes working in this file, with this file, a lot harder, because I can't even use any of the grid pieces for, you know, using as a trick or something like that. It's going to be pain. I also started to, you know, do some custom catwalks already here a little bit. Just all these things are just point of references for the moment. They will be changing massively. The same goes for all these custom staircases. You can see every single bit will be custom, not custom supported in that kind of sense, because most of the supports you'll not be able to see, even though there will be a lot of custom supports around that corner over here and around that turn. And also here, obviously, but most likely it's all about these custom catwalks going around the coaster to grant access. And yes, I am going to be that crazy to build invisible path over there, so you can actually walk that way, because obviously with the camera as of now you cannot, but I wish to have the chance to just walk all that way, because if I see the plans correctly, you can literally walk from over here all the way, just like actually basically follow the coaster along the catwalk and then come all the way back through the tunnel. Anyways, time for another little time-lapse part where I do explain a couple more things about the build and my tricks and tips, how to use the rocks and how I came to realize which were the best combinations and best colors. And also maybe one thing I can show you right now, it's easier to show you in the game. I went for a trick, like we have this group over here is, and if I can move it even, as you can see, this is the type of rocks that will have this kind of shade of orange, and then this is the white-ish one in the middle, and there's also another group of things that is going to be for the outsides, because they have a tiny bit of a different shade of orange. But I wanted to maintain control over the color, so whenever I feel like later on I want to change the color, I can easily go in here and manually adjust the tint I was going for. So maybe at the end I want to have more like this, a bit more of a worn out one. And also because I'm playing constantly with the Sky Studio mod, if I go for example for a blue tint, let's say that one, you can see the color changes massively. Same goes for the foggy day, so you can always adjust the color to whatever is going to be your favorite scheme. Like you can go for a winter-ish, worn-out, weathered version, or the refurbished summer kind of version, and I wanted to maintain control over that, which is why I have these dedicated groups for it, which I'll be starting to split up later, because they will become massive with, as you can see, 4,300 pieces is a bit crazy. So I'll split them up later. But anyways, let's do a bit of time-lapse. When I said in the first time-lapse that there was a huge struggle to find the beginning point, we now moved on to where I've found the groove. And this potentially has been the most enjoying part of the entire recreation so far. Once I had most of the things laid out, and I found a couple of techniques, just as you can see on screen right now, using this mulch ground, this kind of gardening planter as an additional rock structure and kind of nice texture to work with to make it all a bit more gritty, and I don't know, just like giving it a bit more of a texture, you know what I mean? It's like I like the rock texture, but it's not the perfect rock texture for everything, so that was really fun. And along the way, and as I said, I can't really have all the time lapses. Maybe I'm going to cut all my time lapses together. This will be even sped up, will be a video of many hours. I think I have footage worth 50 hours or even more, and I think like there are countless hours I didn't even record. Well, mainly because my hard drive was full, but also because there's some tedious work you just don't want to see on screen. But yeah, as you can see, once I was really there, it was so satisfying to copy things around and, you know, placing some of the cacti over here. By the way, the color of those things is so off, and you can see me using Sky Studio over here to, you know, get rid of the worst. But hey, Frontier, if you're watching, and I really do hope you're watching, guys, is there a way to tackle the foliage again? I mean, we can do a lot with the Sky Studio and desaturate things, but the green tones of foliage is not really nice at all. Like, there are two ways of doing this. A, just give us flexicolor on plants. I think it doesn't matter at the end if it looks weird and you can do some alien stuff with it. I mean, that's just an addition to the sci-fi theme, I guess. But so we can finally adjust the colors of the leaves and stuff. Please, that was one of my biggest issues with this project. Because when you look at the real one, and especially because we're in temperate biome, this is dark, very heavy, nice green. But the greens in game, if you don't use Sky Studio or anything else, is almost yellow, and that is not nice. On screen, you can see a Sky Studio kind of manipulation, and this is why the rocks almost seem to be desaturated, which they are not. They're still pretty orangey in like the original lighting. But yeah, back to what I enjoyed here so much is really getting in, and you can see in this time lapse now we make ground. This is really I really made ground with these things. It's so cool to see how fast I was able then to progress and make the mountain shape look nice. And that was really important because that kind of drive pushed me forward, playing many nights, despite knowing I cannot do anything else and no videos may come out the week or so, but I just enjoyed it so much. And in all honesty, to really get the positive vibe in here, I think it's been the first time in about a couple of years actually that I lost myself so much in this project that I did not care a single second about anything else I could potentially do for YouTube or for other games. I was so in a zone of creating this coaster that means so much to me emotionally, and it being in a game that just works. As for that, like, everything in here works fine, and we're speaking about the vanilla game despite the Sky Studio mod. Oh boy, it's been so fun, and it's been so fun to move forward. You can see so quickly I'm jumping from A to B because my brain was like, yeah, I've got so many ideas where to put them. So once you got the reference, once you get the layout, I was like, let's get this done. I was really in a zone of my own, and I enjoyed it so much. Hopefully you can see that, and the video transports this to you, because it's very important to me to showcase how good that felt and how good it still feels. Anyway, it's time to have a look in game again. So take over real-time, Rudi. Another massive jump forward, and we reached the year 2026 actually. I'm not sure if that's true. It might actually be around Christmas time when I reached this point over here. So I had a parental leave from mid of December to end of January, where I had a bit of time, or actually not that much time, but at least I could spend my nights a bit more because I didn't need to work the next day. But you can see there is a massive change. In one specific area I want to highlight in this little showcase part is this one in the middle. Oh boy, I'll be covering a bit of time-lapse of this. Either it has been before this cut over here or afterwards. This is... God, it's been a nightmare, because there is this portion inside of it. This is basically the main area in the middle of the Big Thunder area, and the Big Thunder Mountain, I should say, which you can't really see from anywhere on the pathway, but this is the main highlight where the coaster is passing through a couple of times. And this part over here contains of a lot of these kind of pieces, and they basically save the day for me. As you can see, these are the module planters, and you can obviously modularly also change the color of it. So everything about this build, as I said earlier already, is about keeping a certain amount of control. So it's very hard to judge at the beginning if you really hit the right color. So it's very good to keep that bit of control, to be able to just align the color later on to make it really perfect, and look at the on-ride and, you know, see if that is really the one. But let me tell you, even the placement of the cacti and the placement of the small cacti and some of the bigger rocks is exactly as it is in real life. Same goes for that rock on top of this one over here. You can see everywhere we have some people for measurement in. It's everything is accurately from its size. It's insane. Really, it took I can't even say how much work that was, like how many hours I sat in the center of this thing to just make sure it all looks good. By the way, I also found this one of my favorite tricks by now, using these Viking fence pieces. Just use 2 of them, and then you can use them basically as a little bit of a cobble piece, you know, just rotating them in every direction, and you can create like a bit of cobble like this, which is super helpful. I do not have used too much scaling yet, but I will unfortunately not be able to finish all of that without it, I guess. So maybe I will be using too much scaling, even though I opted for making it fully vanilla, so I'm not 100% sure. You can comment down below what you think of it, using too much scaling for it, yes or no, because I haven't yet, even for whatever I have done already past this episode. But yeah, so as you can tell, this has been some crazy work I've been doing. Last cut was mainly just that side over here, where not really much changed. So after that, I went over to the other side, and maybe it's also the correct moment to showcase that inside of the mountain, oh boy, it's like a huge mess, as you can tell, because with all that building, I need to figure out also that the sizes inside, or like not the sizes, but the space inside is somewhat maintained. I also use the station trick, or like the auto tunnel trick, to make the, I can show you over here basically. So this is where the lake is, as you can see, and we are beneath the lake, and usually that should work over here, but as I use the tunnel trick, we could easily go under the water, which unfortunately, I will just do again later on a couple of times. As you can see over here, there's an opening. I deleted some of the terrain, and yeah, it's a bit of a problem, but I'll fix that later on. It's a whole mess in here, but it's gonna be fixed, and it's gonna look fantastic, especially at nighttime, which obviously, yes, I also do all the lighting on this thing. Why did I do this to me? Let's move on to the next tiny bit of time lapse and cut. Yes, now we are speaking facts, guys. This, in the last time lapse, I told you how emotionally that is for me and how much of in a zone I was, and we are getting towards the end of that zone because, you know, it's been fun as long as it lasts, as long as I was seeing good progress. Oh, by the way, there is a wonderful German word I want to share with you that, you know, kind of gives you an idea of how I felt, and this is Tagwerk, which means it's basically what you get done in a day. So it means kind of daily work or day work. I think I'm not even sure if there's an English word for that, but it just kind of describes the work you can literally see you did, which goes all the way back, obviously, to the time where everyone was working in the fields and so on. So you can really see what you've been doing in a day, like the field you've plowed, or like, you know, the crops you've planted, or the trees you've chopped, whatever. But you can virtually see what you did, which is exactly what the word describes. And with many modern jobs and modern work, you really don't see what you're doing. And for the most part, in this project over here at the beginning, I think the first freaking 50 hours of building, there was literally nothing, no real progress to be seen, because it was all planning, layouting, changing the layout, discussing which kind of ratio we are going for. And I've not even said that in my first part over here, but my brother and I, we changed the coaster about 6 times until we've found the right size for it, and the right flow and so on, before I even began building. And then when I had the first landscaping layout, that was the moment where we changed it yet again, because we figured that's just not working out, so we made it bigger again. So yeah, fast forward, we are now starting to build Thunder Mesa town, that little mining company town on the island, which is the main, basically the main scenery focus, if you will, when it comes to buildings, and the iconic one over here. And my goal was to really make every single plank go exactly where it is. It's funny though, because when people were talking about how the sorcery pack definitely is inspired by the Hogwarts stuff and so on, and the toy box set is inspired by Toy Story and so on, this Western theme is inspired by Big Thunder Mountain. Oh boy, when I looked into all the details, I figured how many of the Western pieces are literally a 1-by-1 recreation of pieces that you can find here in Thunder Mesa town. It's they are Western, and this is proper Western, so it's also like, obviously Disneyland has taken inspiration from real props. Speaking of, there's a really nice documentation on YouTube I also watched, and they said that a couple of these items you see here, they're real items. They got them from people in the West and purchased them. Some of the stuff they couldn't, because they're in the museum, so they took the museum pieces and took a lot of photos and rebuilt them one by one. But some of the pieces are real Western, like mining pieces. It's a kind of cool story that there's not all scenery props. Some of these things are really actual machines that have been used for gold digging and stuff in the Old West, which is so cool to know. But yeah, I wanted to do even the tiniest of toolboxes over here and designed them. But that was also where I finally went out of the zone, because oh boy, that was frustrating as hell. Simply because a couple of things are lacking in the game that was very hard to find. I'll talk about that in the next time lapse a bit more in precise, or in detail I should say, specifically when it comes to the splashes over here. Anyways, first of all, let's have a look in game again. Right, incredible step forward, another well of 50 hours plus between the last showcase to this one. I have been, and I'm not sure what exactly I will have told you guys already in the speed build, I have changed almost 90% of the entire build. I have moved things around. I have moved some stuff of the coaster. I have changed the landscape, the whole phase of the landscape. I've redone the water. I've redone a couple of these islands slightly. I have redone the side of the, even though I have to completely redo the side of here, but you know, if I pull this up again, you'll be able to say. I also unfortunately deleted some parts in the middle. Hold on. I'm not sure why, but I still keep this thing obviously as a point of reference. And as you can see here very nicely, I will need to change a couple of things, because there you can see this is where usually the little viewing point opposite to the sides should be. The Thunder Mesa riverboat landing is exactly here, but as you can tell, mine isn't, well, it's somewhat accurate, but it's not perfectly accurate. I need to kind of figure out a couple of these things I have done, but you can see I changed some of these little islands over here to be more precise and more flat over here, so they exactly measure with the ones. As you can see, I pull them up and you can see they're exactly measured with the painting over here. But what I have seen, and I'm not entirely sure what I should do with it, in the recent video footage I found, it seems like, because as you can tell, this is the old one, this is the original plan of the coaster, where all these islands have been painted in, but it seems like that specifically this island over here has been dramatically chopped away, because this entire mountain thingy and this part over here is gone. Whenever I look at some of the Google images from, I believe it's 2022, and some of the recent photos I found also on Google Images, you can tell that this entire portion over here is visible now, and there's no island in front of it. I first thought that's actually a bit of a perspective thing happening, but it's apparently not. It's definitely something going on over here, that they took away some stuff of this little hill, which I'm not sure if I will do. I quite like this little lip over here. It just kind of gives me a bit of contact to the clutter over here. That is part of where the action photo is gonna sit. But what I actually wanted to talk about is this part over here. Now, this was all fun and games. I changed a couple of things. I made like this nice corner over here with the tree where some of the possums will be hanging down, which we don't have. But I started to use a couple of decals on the ground to make things a bit more, you know, dirty and used and looking good. Same goes over here. I used a couple of things, made sure that everything is kind of aligned. I also started to do my own plants because, as you can see, the in-game colors of plants is, let's not talk about that. Yeah, and change a couple of things. However, this part over here turned out to be the absolute most complicated thing I've ever built. Full stop. Like, finding the right angles and the right spots to build these things was virtually impossible. Now, as you can see, I deleted some of these things over here. As I said, unfortunately, I did not want to, but this freaking thing over here did not help whatsoever. I'm gonna pull this up and you can see the building over here is like everything is quite a lot more to the side over here, but that just doesn't work. Now, the more I thought about that, it's just not fitting, and I did need to take a bit of creative liberty to change that things up here, because I double checked the real one, and they most certainly have changed this area up dramatically, because also in the real one there is like a full area in between the coaster and the yeah, basically the stuff area, and there's like a huge boulder in between, and there's even a tree growing. Like, there's no way that this is the correct measurement over here, because the pathway in this example, as you can see, is literally next to the track, and then there's this rock over here. And whoops, if I pull this up even further, you can see the footprint of this house is exactly like almost like 4 meters further to the right. But whatever I did, it just did not add up to the real one. Whatever I checked, which kind of photo I checked, it didn't work. So my assumption is that they changed a couple of these things up along the way. What I am 100% certain is that specifically this area over here where the two donkeys are, has been changed a couple of times during the period. Like, a couple of on-rides always have a different design over here, and the most recent one even has like a little shelter for them, which used not to be existing for the most part of it. So yeah, this was really complicated. I am very happy with the variant I have. You've seen that in the spoilers at the beginning, but yeah, I'm still not 100% certain if it's going to stay that way or if I'm going to move certain things up. You can see also I did change the shape over here later on, whatever. But yeah, there's a bit I needed to change. But this was one of the most time-consuming and frustrating things ever. And maybe I have to share that experience for you also. That's a good experience. There was that one moment, and this is exactly where this save over here was done, where I left in frustration, and I left the game for a couple days even. And I left this project for a week or two. I just didn't have the will to go through that again, and after a while, with a fresh will, everything what comes next in today's video is happening. And I'm gonna explain a bit more why, what happened, and how I got then to figure out and fiddle around and finally found the groove back to get to where I'm gonna greet you next. Okay, this is the last but longest time-lapse section of today's showcase video. I do hope you guys enjoyed it so far. We are well into half an hour plus, and as I said, I needed to fit in over 200 hours of work. If you guys enjoy that, please do me a favor and like the video, share it with your friends, share it in forums, whatever. That would help me tremendously. There's only one way I can do these kind of projects, and this is if I've got trust in these projects working out. And this specific build over here is so close to my heart that I didn't really care about anything than just doing it for the sake of doing it. But obviously, I would be more than happy if it gets the traction that it, in my opinion, deserves. I still believe this is potentially my best work ever. There's so much that went into making this really proper, and I cannot tell you how much it would mean to me if the video gets the traction it deserves. So please, if you can, do this for me, or sub to the channel if you haven't already, or just, you know, I don't know, just use all the kind of stuff you can use as support for the channel. You can use my instant gaming links, whatever. All these kind of things help me, obviously, to keep on doing these kind of projects. Because as you can imagine, putting 200 hours into one single video, not knowing if it gets even 1,000 views, which is the reality at the moment, is kind of harsh. And there's only so often I can do this. So please, guys, if you will, that would help me out. Okay, enough of that, because we want to keep that positive vibe going on, simply because, oh boy, is it great. And now let's get into this. When I said in the last time lapses that I was in a zone and I enjoyed my build so much, well, this was where it started to become super nasty and super hard to keep on going. When I told you the German word Tagwerk, and if you skipped forward, skip back, because you need to learn about the German word Tagwerk, otherwise you don't understand what I'm talking about. This is quite the opposite of what I experienced with the mountain, where everything was quickly. This over here, I spent 3-4 hours in, and there's literally no change happening because I needed to change things over and over again. Which is mostly down to an inconsistency of Frontier doing their scenery sets. Now, the Western set, obviously, is from Planco 1, so I don't want to even, you know, kind of complain too much about this, because we even got it back, which is great, and without it, I couldn't do this build whatsoever. However, some of the new sets, for example, like the Sorcery Pack, came with these incredibly nice townhouse builds and townhouse pieces, but there are so many great roof pieces, but we don't get all of them like with the grid. Some of the grid pieces are great, and then we get a couple of non-grid pieces, but these non-grid pieces, they are just coming in 2 different angles of a roof, while the set itself has 3 different angles, and it only comes with a 4-meter variant in width and not with a 2-meter variant in width, which, for example, the Western set had. And so I had a very hard time to especially get the roofs in, because I wanted to use that texture. The slate roof of the townhouse set is just too perfect for this. Skipping forward, when I was finally done with this, I moved on to get into this is actually going to be fun, because as we also got the on-ride photos, I'm going to put the on-ride photo exactly into the correct position, which is also fun. I showed you the on-ride photo that we have from, well, way back in the 90s. I feel like this must have been somewhat 1999 or so, where the photo comes from on the on-ride, or maybe the early 2000s. I don't know. I'm wearing my football jacket from my first club, so that definitely is before 2002, where I switched clubs. So potentially that's there. And the on-ride photo must have been on a different location, because as you can tell, the on-ride photo is already with the splash in, like, you can literally see the splash. I would potentially put the photo here again so you can see that right away. But yeah, just let me do this so we can have a look at that next to the build, so I can prove my point a bit better. Because as you can see, I'm sitting there and the splash is next to me, which is all the way on the bottom of the splash. But now the current version is in that little hut focusing on the decline into the splash. So they must have changed the location of the on-ride photo. I haven't purchased any of the on-ride photos ever since, so I didn't know about that, and I couldn't really find any online. So if you guys, maybe, well, if some of you has been there lately and you have an on-ride photo, please let me know in Discord or send me in DMs. You can also just blur yourself out if you don't want to, or like put anything above you. For me, it's just important to see what the angle is the photo is taken from, because I've seen all the on-rides and I see where the flashes come from and where the photo is taken. This is exactly that little building kind of thing over there, that little shelter thing I built. But it's kind of hard to tell where exactly it's pointing. So I had a hard time putting the on-ride thing in. I'm going to show you in the last real-time part. You're going to see that. But yeah, and if you ask yourself how crazy I was, yes, I even made these little sliding pieces over here where technically the kind of was that the barons or something like that, kind of they would roll down here, or the rocks or the rubber, whatever you call them. I just completely built all of that, and every single plank, every single piece went exactly into the locations, and you cannot imagine how often I did change the positioning of these things. I looked at a tremendous amount of photos, tried to figure out what exactly is the angle, and again, there is definitely one point in which we like me and my brother, and we just didn't find the perfect way to do this. As there is no real data on how the inclines are and what exact angle this is and how tall of these are, we kind of needed to do this with looking at many different images and try to replicate that. We even used some AI tools to just kind of try to use photos to make the exact, like in Blender, for example, to get the exact incline sorted out, but even they were struggling. I assume because of all the photos not taken from the same year, stuff has changed, and sometimes they even changed the rockwork around it, which, technically the lift hill and stuff stays the same, but it looks different. So there is, unfortunately, when I hold the images next to each other one by one, I suppose that this main lift hill over here, as you can see, is a tad bit too steep in my version. It's a little bit less steep in the real version, but then the speed that the real version has is definitely higher than what you would assume it is from the incline it has. So we needed to go steeper, or we would have needed to go with the friction lower, but if we would have gone with the friction lower, that would have then caused some issues in other parts of the coaster. So as you can tell, there's a lot of thought behind all the details over here, and yeah, here we are speaking about the details, and oh boy, I'm so proud of what is going on over here, because yet again, this is some scenery stuff they also have changed over the time. They mostly kept it the same, but this is the mining company area over here where they have like the steam machines, using this for the mining thing, and I changed so many of the stuff over here to make it fit. This coaster is so freaking dense and so tight that it's really hard to make sure that everything looks as it needs to be. Oh, and by the way, I do also have another weird little issue, which Frontier, again, if you're listening, you cannot change the orientation of the catwalk of the lift hill. It's always going to be on the right hand side of your coaster. The problem is, Big Thunder Mountain has its catwalk and additional staircases on the left-hand side of the lift hill. So with all the different lift hills, I need to cover up the right-hand side and need to make a custom one on the left-hand side in order to make this work. And as you can see also here, to make sure that this is working nicely with the lighting, I needed to close off all the things and also have to make sure to get the real clearance in. And last but not least, yes, we do custom supports, obviously, with all the parts where there is no rockwork underneath it. We are doing custom supporting. I went into every single detail, making every single rail the correct one, and making sure everything goes hand in hand with the build itself. And yeah, I cannot tell you how proud I am of it. Let alone this corner over here looks already so incredibly nice. I found some really cool ways to make the ground look more realistic, by the way. I'm gonna show you in the next real-time part. It is just so freaking good. It is absolutely amazing, and I enjoyed every single well, that's not true. I did not enjoy every single second of it. There were a couple of parts where I was really frustrated to find the correct orientation, but once I got that sorted out, and you can see that I made ground again, and I saw myself really see the change and how much it looks better, then everything else was gone, and I felt so good again. That was just so rewarding for me personally. To just have that, and yeah, it's been a pleasure. It's been such a pleasure to build this, and it's been such a good experience. But well, I'm rambling, I'm yapping. Let's go into the final showcase and then have an on-ride, at least of the island section of the coaster. I cannot wait to show you. So let's move into the game. So we are here in the current status quo file. There is the train coming. Let's follow it around. Oh boy, this view over here is the most complete view of the entire coaster we have so far. You can tell that a lot has happened in the meantime. We are standing in the midst of the air over here. I have put a complete invisible path around the coaster to get some really cool shots. Otherwise, this wouldn't have worked. But yeah, so this is the view, and just to show how detailed everything has gotten, I can show you just the view over here. There you can see that everything has been done here. There's just the animals are missing. More about that in the next episode, but you can tell every single rock has been placed individually in exactly the position. We have some nails holding together this one. We've got even like this little dent over here, which is intentional to give it a bit of a a worn-out feeling, you know, to give it a bit more life in a way, I guess. As you can see, there is our little area where the action photo is taken. If there's another coaster coming, we can actually in a while have a look at this, because that looks so cool. I mean, the closer I zoom in, you can literally tell how many kind of little details you can spot. There's so much lying around, and just every single bit has been placed individually. And there's the train coming. Look at that. Oh my god. There we have the action photo taken. You can potentially have heard that, but maybe I've toned it down because our doorbell just rang. There we have got the sign, Big Thunder Mountain or Big Thunder Mining Company, which is exactly the sign you have there. There's like a little chimney with a bit of fog coming off, and yeah, there's the coaster to the top part, which is exactly where I am at right now. Okay, time to jump out of this camera mode and go into the free fly mode to show this whole construction from the top level. It does look quite complete from over here, not gonna lie. Obviously that section over here doesn't, but yeah, it does look quite complete, which is a testament, I guess, to how much is already done. But to be fair, you can see there's a couple of things not in place over here. There's obviously the whole construction missing. This bridge is missing. This top bridge part over here is missing. Same goes for the catwalk here. And on the other side, there's also this stuff is missing. This entire rock face over here is a placeholder, because over here there's a very iconic kind of cave thing. I want to definitely do this one, because that's the one you can see from over here, which basically this is one of the main viewing spots of the coaster in real life, which is especially you can see that coming down up here, which I do want to make sure looks good. There's the retaining wall of this side is missing. There's like a whole planter area in front of it, which I got to do next. So as for a bit of a future hint for the next episode, so you make sure to check out the channel, make sure to sub to the channel so you don't miss out on the second episode. I will not give you a timeline because I don't have any myself, but I can promise that I will do it, and we will be doing this. I am planning to hopefully have this whole thing at latest done to Planet Zoo's release, so that is my final deadline, so to say, but I'm willing to have it ready way before that. You can see this central area is almost fully done. I'm just gonna fly down here. You can see it is really, look at that, everything is in place. It all has its perfect areas, perfectly fitted, everything is right. There is even this opening that is existing in real life too. You've got all the staircases and stuff coming down here with the optional catwalk. The same goes over here. It's everywhere someplace. There is this head chopper kind of section near Miss Element. It's gonna be here. There's the next train coming. Look at that. It's looking so freaking cool with the people enjoying the ride. And one of the last things I'm going to do is the train apparently itself. It's not done yet. But what I wanted to show you as well is I have already started to use decals. That's something I will do throughout the entire ride as well. So in this section over here, you can see I'm using a lot of the dirt decals, a lot of those decals over here. And as promised, I found a trick to make the ground look a lot better than it actually does. And the trick is surprisingly simple. Let me show you over here. There's one, and I'm gonna drag that out. It's kind of the moss piece. That's what it is. And if you use the moss piece and you align that with the green tone of the soil, and then you can change literally what is inside of it, makes it for a very nice ground texture, and you can play around with this very nicely indeed. Over here I use this for some grass elements, but over here this entire thing, it looks like there you can see that. I'm not sure if I grabbed the right one. Yeah, there you have that. It looks like a bit more of a soily kind of almost mulch area, if you will. You don't see that apparently, but it does make a huge difference, especially when you look at areas like this over here. Look down here, how cool that looks with all these decals in place. That is definitely changing the mood of it dramatically. And I'm going to use these throughout the entire build. I also used a couple of different rocks and decals here to make it, you know, there is some bird poop everywhere. So that's what I'm using as well. There you can see some more major dirt, or like bird poop. We are going to have this everywhere. And I will change a couple of those things. Some of the roof pieces will receive some more weathered decals. But that is just part of it also down here to make it all look so much more realistic and so much more real video in a way. However, I think there is not really that much more to talk about because you guys want to enjoy the ride with me. So we are waiting for the next coaster. Oh, by the way, this waterfall is just a placeholder. We're waiting for this one. And hold on, I'm just going to try to figure out to put myself in that train. Here we go. And we're going to jump into this train. But we are, this is perfect. And we're going to have a car in the back. Maybe the last one even? I think the last one is good. This is how you ride the ride. You know, in these kind of things, you're in the back. All right, let's do it and go for this part of the coaster. It's so freaking cool. Let's have a look. There we go in here. Let's go in, and the coaster goes around that corner. Enjoyable through here. Down we go. Bit of airtime. Chop you into the corner. There we go. Straight back into the action photo. Let's smile for that one. There we have the photo. Oh my god, around that corner we go into that little Mesa town over here, the big Thunder town. There you can see that even with the opening. Ah, there we have all the stuff. There's that machine. Everything in place over here. Look at the things. There we have that thing. Oh god, it's so good. I just can't. I just can't. It's so much fun. It's so much fun also to enjoy that. I've been riding this thing way too many times, but yeah. So here we go. Down here we can see a couple of other things. Have some near misses. Have some coaster interaction with the other one. Go into that double helix over here. Sometimes you see the other train. This time around we don't. Just go through here. Go down into another cave, which is not fully done yet, but there we go, sun glooming. Then this is where the head chopper normally comes. Choo! Down here we go, the opposite side of the lake, and then we go back into the station. Not station, but this is, this one over here is fun. You haven't seen that before, but there is a little trick we used in the, we can see that with the train now. The train is actually, as you can see over here, wiggling on the way up, which is the real one is doing. So we did this with some clever placements of the chain lift, and then we come out of here, and then that's the last part you have on the island. You can see then the other side very nicely over here. There's where you can briefly see the station, and then down we go, which is exactly where we jump off the train, because that's something for the next episodes. But you have seen now that this is all built. A couple of little corners I'll smooth out a bit more, so this little thing is a bit choppy, so I may smooth that out a bit more. But you need to have this rather choppy because it's a mine train, and it actually is in real life rather choppy in these kind of areas, but I will eventually fix that as well. But yeah, there is going to be the donkeys will be placed over here. There's going to be the goat is missing. Some of these things I will be still doing. But yeah, I cannot tell how amazingly happy I am. I don't even know if that's proper English. I don't care. It is fantastic. I think looking at the details, looking at the placement, looking at the sidelines, looking at the coaster itself, this is just my best work. I mean, just look at this angle over here. Like, this is just tell me you don't like this. You can't. It's, I hope you guys, oh, by the way, I hope you guys have been to this coaster in real world, because in my opinion, it's absolutely one of the bucket list coasters in the world. Not because the coaster itself is so good, that's not the case, but because of the whole experience of it, the theming, the part going underneath the lake, and just the whole Frontierland in Paris is just a very, very good area. And I do hope you guys get the chance of experiencing that yourself. And if you do, make sure to do it and enjoy it to the fullest. I mean, yeah, what shall I say? That is absolutely phenomenal. I am willing to say that this project has reinstated my will to enjoy Planet Coaster 2 even more than I actually already do. Yeah, it's I can't say anything else than maybe you get this from my words, from my phrasing, from whatever. I'm beyond happy. Also, let's just jump down to some of these pathways over here. They also give some cool looks if you're on this side over here. So yeah, let's finish off with this look over here and do a bit of an outro. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I really poured my heart and soul into the build, into the episode, trying to get you on a journey with me, starting this recreation of Big Thunder Mountain Disneyland Paris version. As said, I'm continue building. I will eventually also host some live streams building in here, so you can follow that in live and get a feeling of how much work that actually is. And if you are interested, if you're new to the channel, if you want to support, if you want to see the next one, just make sure to sub to the channel and follow along. This will be good. There's obviously other stuff on the channel too, but you know, if that's the project of your heart, trust me, we are going to finish this in style, and I cannot wait for the next episode. I cannot wait to go on. I cannot wait to lose more hours in this build. Might sound strange, but it is the way I say. And in any case, if there's any way you want to support the channel, you can also become a member of the channel if you like these emojis, but you can also purchase a game via my instant gaming link. There's a lot of ways to support the channel if you want to, and if not, that's also totally fine. You can just enjoy the video and watch other videos too. I don't mind. I appreciate all of that, and hopefully you had a blast with today's video. I talk to you in the next one. Enjoy and bye.